welcome to another episode with Iris and Chloe and Juicy. Yes, these are my kids. Today we're talking about mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and how to safely use them, which is basically called microdosing, and how to use them not only for mental health, but also manifestation. If you're trying to bring something into your life, if you're trying to find some clarity, maybe, just maybe, this is what you have been looking for. So just sit back and stay tuned with us. Some time ago, I actually did microdosing, and this was probably like a couple of weeks ago, maybe going into a little bit further. And I had such an experience that I feel like, wow, this is something that we need to talk about even further. And so I decided to do a Facebook Live, which probably some of you already seen. However, I decided to also make a small video about this and kind of condense the information. And so here we go. I hope that I can answer today a lot of your questions when it comes to microdosing, when it comes to even magic mushrooms and what it really does and how far it can get to you and the pros and cons, I guess. Alright guys, here we go. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to microdosing on mushrooms is that mushrooms, magic mushrooms, or psilocybin mushrooms is completely natural, and they come from the earth. So I don't want you to think that this is necessarily synthetic, and it's actually in the scale of hallucinogens. It is basically one of the lightest. However, the more that you take, the stronger the effects will be. For the purpose of this video and for the purpose of educating you guys when it comes to doing magic mushrooms, this is going to be a video that is going to focus on microdosing. So microdosing is actually basically just taking a very small dose. And you can even microdose on marijuana if you want. I definitely suggest that you do your own research when it comes to this. I don't necessarily want to go into the details on dosing, how much you need to dose on. This is a lot based on your weight. This is based on, have you done it before? This is based on how open you are. So I'm going to leave this part open for you to actually do your own research. And the more that you do research, the more you'll know if it's actually the right thing to do for you, or maybe not so much at this time. The next thing that I also want to point out when it comes to doing magic mushrooms and to doing any kind of hallucinogen is that it is not recreational, guys, all right? This is not recreational, and especially microdosing is not really recreational. How is it not recreational? Because with microdosing, you're not gonna see like these crazy visuals. You're not gonna be hallucinating and going into outer space or something. It's very much mild. It's just a heightened awareness within yourself, within your eyesight, honestly, and your senses. So your senses do become heightened. However, it's not like crazy heightened. It's not something that you cannot really control. I remember I was outside, I was at a park, and I was watching the sunset, and honestly, that day was like the most spectacular sunset I could have witnessed that day. I live in Miami, and I live in Miami Beach, and the sunsets in Miami are really beautiful. We tend to have really beautiful sunsets, but that day it was like really beautiful, and with the microdosing was like extra beautiful. One thing that was happening to me, look at this girl, she's so delicious. One thing that was happening also is that with a heightened sense of eyesight, I was also having a heightened sense of hearing. So when I was in the middle of receiving this awareness, receiving the mushrooms and entering my body and all over my system, I was also hearing a lot of people. I could hear a lot of people around me, and it didn't really quite bother me so much. However, after a little bit, not after a little bit, but maybe like after an hour, you become even more keen. And I actually was having annoyance. I did feel annoyed about a couple of people that were around me, but they weren't even that close to me, but I could hear them, and I'm just like, gosh, can you shut up for a second? Like I'm like in the moment, and all of a sudden you're like, so that's gonna happen. This is why it's very important for you to, which I'm gonna go into my next topic, which is it's very important for you to find a safe place or a place that you really like if you're going to do this. The safest place that you can do this, for the most part, for most people, is at home. You want to do this in a place where you feel very comfortable. Personally, I like to do this outside, because outside I am in nature. This is a nature substance, and it really makes you connected to something that is greater than you, which is, you know, for the most basic, it's nature. You have to really base it on what it is that your needs are and what it is that you're trying to achieve. A lot of people tend to do this by themselves when they're outside. Personally, I did it by myself. However, I was in public. And I wasn't, you know, you're not gonna act crazy, you're not gonna act weird, you're just in public. You have to take in note what it is that you want to experience while you do microdosing, and where it is that you want to be in. How do you want to feel? I think that's the key to everything, how it is that you want to feel. This brings me to my next topic, which is intention is everything. So what is your intention for doing this? Are you doing for manifesting? Are you doing for depression? Are you doing this for anxiety? Also, are you doing this feeling fear? Or are you doing this feeling love? All right, so I'm gonna define this because this can be a little tricky sometimes. So many times when we're doing microdosing, we're in search of answers, which means that you're not quite in your best self. Maybe you're experiencing anxiety, maybe you're experiencing depression, maybe you're just experiencing confusion. Like when I did it, I was feeling confused about things, and I was just trying to find and understand myself, honestly. And so what is the intention behind it, and also how do you feel? In other words, if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling anxious, like too anxious about doing this, don't do it. That is not the right time for you to do it. However, if you're feeling like, okay, I'm going through a certain life situation, but there's a part of you that feels like this is what I want to do. If you feel kind of like, you know, there's always a little bit of anxiousness, but if you feel like you're like, okay, I think I can handle it, then yes, definitely, you know, that's fine. I remember I was in a meditation. I was doing a chakra meditation, and then I just got the idea to do micro mushrooms or micro shrooming. And so I was like, really? Like, you guys want me to do this, you know? And so yeah, I just knew that I had to do it. And I'm not the type of person that likes to do hallucinogenics very much. Actually, I did DMT, which is the strongest hallucinogen. And I did it for the first time. I did it, and it was an amazing, incredible experience. I came out of my body, I went to another dimension, and I literally met the embodiment of God. However, in the third time that I did it, sorry, not the third time, the second time that I did it, it was not a pleasant experience, and I actually experienced a little bit of PTSD after that, and became very restrictive when it came to hallucinogenics. And so in other words, I don't play with these things. You have to feel okay about doing them. You can't feel scared about doing them. So please, intention is key. Another thing that I want to go over with you as well is that it is a surrendering process. In other words, you cannot go into it thinking that you want to control your mind. You cannot control your mind, because then you're defeating the purpose of doing this. If you're gonna do this, you have to make sure that you're here to completely let it take over you, and for you to open yourself up to new possibilities, ideas, situations, and things that will give you the clarity that you're looking for. Because in reality, what you are looking for is not only a healing, but it's a clarity. That's another thing I want to go into when it comes to doing microdosing and hallucinogens in general is that they can be healing, but they don't necessarily change your life. It is up to you to change your life and to take the necessary steps to bring those changes. When it comes to magic mushrooms and any of those things, it will give you the clarity that you're probably looking for. It may not even give you the clarity that you're looking for. However, I don't want you to expect that this miracle thing is going to happen and that the skies are going to open up and God is going to come and totally just sit there and talk to you. Honestly, when I did it, I was hoping I would talk to my spirit guide and my grandmother, because I do talk to her in hypnosis. However, that's not the experience that I had. The experience that I had was just me, just being with myself and letting the thoughts that were hindering my growth, letting the thoughts that were hindering my feelings of being stuck come on through. But it wasn't, it was a surrendering process, and it's very hard for me to describe. You just have to just let it happen. And whatever feelings that come up, those are the feelings that come up. If you need to cry, if you need to laugh, if you need to do anything, you have to let those feelings come up and let them purge out of you. This is how we can find healing or clarity for the actual intention of what you're trying to do. Another thing is that it will quiet your mind. This is why microdosing can be so powerful. Many people have reported that when they feel like they have busy lives and they do microdosing, they definitely feel more at peace. And this is very, very helpful for people that are suffering from depression, that are suffering from anxiety, because it puts you in a state of clarity, surrender, and thus peace, right? So this is something that please keep in mind. If you want to learn to quiet your mind, maybe you can try microdosing. I actually did microdosing when it comes to marijuana long time ago when I first started meditating. And then you're like, okay, how do you do microdosing of marijuana before getting like crazy high? I just basically took a puff, just one puff, and then I would just wait a minute or two, and then I would start meditating, and that helped me surrender. Again, if you haven't noticed, the recurring theme here is to surrender. When we surrender, we let ourselves be guided. One thing, and actually the last thing that I want to point out, is that everybody wants help, but nobody is willing to receive the help. And so this is why these substances exist, these plant medicines exist, so to get you out of your head, to get you out of wanting to control the situation, and it literally puts you in a state of complete surrender. So then ideas and healings and for you to face yourself in a safe way, so you can go on and continue with your journey that is called life. You might want to take about an entire day to do this. The beautiful part about microdosing is that there is no real side effects. You might get emotional after. I definitely got emotional after I did my microdosing. I felt a lot of love, but I was certainly sober. I was ready to get back to work. However, you might want to just take a day for you to just relax and be with yourself and be with your emotions. Alright guys, I love you, and I hope you guys found this video very helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, you're more than welcome to share this and like my page. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're more than welcome to give me a thumbs up and like and subscribe. Guys, I love you, and I'll see you all next time. Mwah. Bye!